Alright, perfect. Good evening, everybody. I am raikourider, and I will be demonstrating Stochastic's Earthbound Ancient Cave. On the mic with me will also be Leslie Pro04.
Hi everybody and good evening. I have had some fun with the Ancient Cave Rando and I hope you guys will enjoy watching it too. Earthbound is a childhood favorite and yeah, this rando is awesome.
So what we're going to do is the Earthbound Ancient Cave takes all of the entrances in the game and mixes them up into a 9-floor dungeon. Because this is going to be a no skips category. There are skips that will take you between floors, but we will not be using them due to the category rules.
So what connects the floors are shining spots. You defeat the boss at the shining spot, you proceed on to the next floor. There are 8 shining spots, which will allow us to go up to floor 9, and at the end of floor 9 is the final boss.
So this randomizer was developed by Stochastic. Big shoutouts to him. He might be in chat. If he's in chat, or any of the Earthbound mods are in chat, I think Ori might be here. You can, just listen to what they say. They know a lot about this. But in any case, we are about to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So early on, since we don't have any equipment, we're going to be relying primarily on psi powers to do damage. All of the gift boxes in the game are randomized, and they are progressive, so the farther you get in the game, the more lucrative the treasure gets, but also the more difficult the enemies get. We do have automatic run on. That is one of the options. If you hold the Y button, you will run at skip sandwich speed. So the skip sandwiches themselves aren't useful. Oh hey, an ATM. A little early for it. There are a few differences. You start out with a little bit more cash. You might also notice the sprite work done as well. There are a decent number of custom sprites available on the website. If you want to play this yourself, the website is earthbound.app. Earthbound is actually one of the oldest randomizers around. The original Earthbound Reshuffler was created in 2012. Chaz developed the Ancient Cave version in 2016, and it is by far the more popular of the randomizer options. Saving early and often is very important, because you don't know how long you're going to go without finding a telephone, which is how you save, an ATM, which is how you get access to your money. Just early in the cave, you want to take absolutely anything that you can get. So, like Leslie alluded to, each of the floors are linked by the shining spots, which are where you fight the sanctuary bosses in the vanilla game. Once you find a shining spot and defeat the boss within, there will not be another... Oh, this is a dead end. There will be no more progression before the shining spot. There are 8 shining spots that divide the cave into 9 floors. Your goal is to navigate the maze to get to Gygus on the 9th floor and find everything that you need to defeat him. Anytime that you see an NPC blocking your path through a gate, that NPC requests a specific item. If you give them that item, you'll be able to go through that entrance, and that will often take you to a different floor. That's called a skip. A lot of races in the community are run with skips, but you'll occasionally see a no-skips race. The no-skips race is a much better and much more marathon-safe showcase of the randomizer. The instant text helps a lot, too.
It really does, and also worth noting is that each floor does have a free heal, and Magic Camp, which is where Raiko is now, does have a free heal.
You do also get a free teddy bear to start with, just like in the vanilla game. What the teddy bear does is it will be targeted by enemies' moves 75% of the time, and you'll typically make use of it while you have very few levels. It will generally absorb damage until you can get up to a decent power level. So right now we're mostly looking for good starting, just any starting gear, just any weapon.
Looks like those crows are taking back the cartons of cream that they were dropping.
Getting items stolen can be very irritating. Also, the naming scheme for the party. Everyone has been named after a prominent Earthbound speedrunner. The carrot key is one of the items that is used for a skip. We will be discarding those. Some of you may be familiar with the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise randomizer. This randomizer uses a nice feature from that, where if you press the R button, you will drop the last item that you picked up.
Be careful doing that with equipment, especially if you have it equipped, because you might inadvertently unequip something. I have done this.
That will typically happen if you have an item equipped and you pick up a duplicate copy of it, because what the algorithm looks for is just the first item in your inventory that matches the item that you picked up. Great Charm's not a bad pickup. The reason why I like the charms especially is because Jeff's bottle rocket damage, which we'll get into once we actually hopefully acquire some ammunition. His damage is mostly based on his speed, and the Great Charm raises speed by 10. Great Charm also helps with escaping. Nah, that's not worth it. That one, we do look for some scripted encounters early on, because all of the scripted encounters in the game are not moved from their original spots, and they are not shuffled in with the rest of the enemies. So if you manage to take one of those out, like say that hieroglyph, you'll get a lot of experience very quickly, and that will cause enemies to run away from you on the world map and generally save time, but that particular one is a little bit too powerful for my taste. Looks like I might have to use Psy to take this one out because I don't have weapons. All of the psychic powers and all the battle commands are shuffled among all of the party members. So Paula might not have Prey, Jeff might not have Spy, and Pooh might not have Mirror. So some of the enemies that I don't have the physical capability to take on, I'll often use Psychic for, and that's very common early on.
Well, you have an early freeze, which is nice.
Yeah, that's very nice, because the last seed that I played, freeze didn't exist. So the side power shuffle can cause some really interesting things to happen, where certain powers that you might be dependent on in the vanilla speedrun might not even exist. So for instance, there's no PK Fire yet anywhere. Generally speaking, if you get a preemptive, you want to run from enemies that you can't otherwise kill in a single round. This particular encounter here with large numbers of these worthless protoplasm enemies, they can be very, very dangerous.
Enemies that can call for help are also can be very dangerous. Ooh, something was dropped from that escape pump.
So we might be here for a while, unfortunately. Nice one damage crits, guys. And the stat growth of all the characters is randomized. I need crits. It's as simple as that. Meaningful crits, please. There we go. This should be a good amount of XP. All the battle backgrounds are randomly generated, so some of them can get a little bit flashing lightsy, and I apologize if one of those comes up. That one isn't too bad. Some of them can get really ugly. Nothing here.
Yeah, this one kind of reminds me of Disco in a way.
Everything here is either too expensive or it's not helpful.
See, the shop contents are randomized, and the number of shots that you can either get stuff that's not helpful, or, like Rod just said, too expensive, and if it's floor 1 with multi-bottle rockets, yeah, probably not gonna see that happen.
And this is the free heal that Leslie was talking about. There's one of these on every floor. The sprite randomization is what causes that to happen, and it's often just funny seeing ATMs turned into people that are just laying on the ground. There's a lot of that in this particular randomizer. Ooh. And that is an example of a loop. In the most recent version of the randomizer, loops are allowed to occur, but they must be self-contained within the same floor. Essentially, yes. This does turn Earthbound into a roguelike, and I didn't pay attention to what item I got. Oh, that's a slingshot. That's a weapon that I'm probably going to give to Jeff. So I have no idea what this first boss is going to be. Oh, the unassuming local guy. Pretty easy.
Yeah, we have not. Yeah. Once a hint ban is found, you can find out information such as what floor you're on and things like that. Boss name.
So the unassuming local guy isn't a bad first boss. And now, oh, this is Onet. This is, I believe, the second largest cluster.
That fifth character in the back is actually a teddy bear that takes damage for you.
Yes, the teddy bear will absorb 150 points of damage before it explodes and gets removed from your party. But it's very important to staying alive in the early game. Now that we're on the second floor of the ancient cave, the treasure is going to get better, but the monsters are also going to get more difficult. Okay, so this is the mini bar from the 3 tunnel. We're actually going to be using our big bottle rocket on this guy to try to get a big level boost. Hopefully this kills, because we might be in trouble if it doesn't. Might have to pray to get the last bit of damage. Unfortunately, sometimes hope and pray becomes a strat, and by hope and pray, I mean actual praying. I got a little unlucky that that 500-some damage bottle rocket didn't actually kill the mini bar.
Yeah, that was a 550.
So with the prayers, what I'm looking for specifically is one of the prayers does something like 200 damage to all enemies.
Yeah, the specific text that comes up is the dazzling light chases the enemy.
Yes, that's what we're looking for. If I can't... That was a misclick. We gotta reset. So, no, we're not going back that way. Now this, I did have a save not too far back, so this it shouldn't take me too terribly long to get back there. I will have to fight the boss again, but that's not a big deal because I know where it is. And that's one of the reasons why you really want to save at every moment you can. I mean, I could have just taken a death there, and I would have been able to keep my progress. But I also would have lost.
Could have been something like.
But I would have lost my big bottle rocket also. That's the main concern, because you get one big bottle rocket on Jeff that's kind of a freebie, if you know what I mean. It's a free it's a free pass for one encounter, and now that I've checked all those locations, I don't need to necessarily search them anymore, unless the way through this floor is beyond the mini barf, which would be pretty rude. But some shout outs to Chaz for making this work, because the original Earthbound reshuffler was not easy to get into at all. Whereas this takes the game and puts it in a much more accessible format. For vanilla Earthbound, yes, if you do take a death, that does invalidate the run. But in randomizer, you are allowed to reset. Hard Hat's a good piece of equipment.
Absolutely, especially in the early game.
Yeah,
Also,
those
we're seeing a random sign that was on the side replaced with a new span. That's just, like, weird.
those usually last. The hard hats usually last you until about floor 4 or 5. I believe this is an upgrade for him. If not for damage, then for accuracy, because the slingshot items, or the slingshot type weapons in the game, have a higher miss rate than other weapons in the game. Most weapons have a 1 in 16 base miss chance. The slingshots have a 3 in 16 base miss chance, which is why you want to avoid using them when possible, but sometimes you have to because the game doesn't give you any better options. Also, if you use an equipable item out of your inventory, the game will equip it when possible. That is not the case in the vanilla game. It's another quality of life improvement.
Yeah, there were a number of quality of life improvements in this randomizer, and I believe we've gone over a number of them. I mean, there is one setting you can do while making the seed worth noting, and that is ludicrous text speed, which takes your typical fast text speed and just jacks it up even more.
It's instant text. That is one of the options we are playing with, is instant text. I don't like this at all. I think what I might have to do for progression, I'm kind of running out of entrances to check right now. So if we don't find another entrance that is progress, we might have to kill that mini-barf to be able to get through the floor. And if that's the case, I'm probably going to take a save on the southeast side of town. And then probably just save scum the bottle rocket for as much damage as possible. And worst case scenario, I can just try to grind out a couple levels. Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful. We got rockin' at least. So I'll have a respectable source of damage in the event that the rocket doesn't kill.
That's also a good choice in crowds.
Yes, it's our first actual area of effect spell. Now, where was that phone?
Southeast of town, I believe.
Yep, there it is. Still haven't found a particularly helpful shop. Also, the despawn rate has been significantly reduced for the randomizer, intentionally to try to make you fight enemies.
And you can despawn enemies, but you won't do it nearly as often.
Game, can I escape combat, please? One thing that does get shuffled is some of the enemy flags, such as which enemies have psychic power shields, which enemies explode when they are killed. And more importantly, which enemies are inescapable. Alright. What am I at for health on everybody? Those only restore 6 HP, but I'm mostly using them just to get them out of my inventory.
Yeah, usually I don't keep items that restore that much HP
629
around.
didn't kill? Jeez. This guy has 616 HP in vanilla.
Yeah, so that's definitely a roll up in HP, but now the question is, how much did it roll up to?
A lot! Almost 800. So now, watch all these levels I'm in a game here. So this won't actually make me as set as I would like. The ideal enemy you want to do this to is one of the moles from Mole Cave. Because they typically have less HP than... Is this... No, this is the correct one. They typically have less HP, but give more experience. That's just an item.
Well, on the plus side, you didn't run into Starman Jr. on floor 1, because I could have made this an ugly setup.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, having to fight Starman Jr. early is no fun. Usually, if you find Starman Jr. on floor 1, that means you can kiss your big bottle rocket goodbye. Because generally speaking, that's the only way you're going to be getting past him. Wow! That wound up being a dead end. So it must be that one entrance in the... That one entrance in the hospital second floor I just didn't explore. That's okay, though. That's okay. The experience is plenty worth it. Because now you might notice that all of the enemies on this floor are running away from me. If you significantly outclass enemies on the overworld, they will run away from you.
Also worth noting, those zombies in the Freed Graveyard will not be moving in this because a number of the event flags have been disabled, and that's one of them.
And oftentimes, different sections of the same town, such as up by Nessa's house and the main portion of Onett, those are often on different floors as far as the randomizer is concerned.
Same can be said for Southern Onett.
Boy, we are getting a lot of big zones out of the way early. That's not good.
Lost Underworld is quite big too,
I need to get out of here right now. Thank you. So that's that enemy that I ran into before that I turned around. That I turned around and didn't want to risk using my big bottle rocket on. As you can see, they are extremely dangerous. And we should have a bunch of money now, too, because of the mini-barf kill. So if we find a bottle rocket vendor, we should be able to buy some ammunition. If we find T-Rex's bat would be a nice thing, too. Hey, speak of the devil, there it is. That'll be a huge offense upgrade. Alright, that vendor's not saleable. The saleable vendors are upstairs. Not all vendors are saleable. What I mean by a saleable vendor is a vendor that will let you sell items as well as purchase them. So I'm mostly going to be just clearing out my inventory of things that sell for a decent amount of money. Oops.
So that camel behind the counter, I wonder if that's the camel that's in the Geico commercials. There's a sort of a side job.
upgrades there, but nothing I'm terribly interested in. But the T-Rex is bad as well worth it. By default, the shops will only have items that you can purchase from shops. Now, don't quote me on it, but I believe there is an option to make the shops potentially have... hello, triple sunstroke, thanks game. I believe there is an option to have the shops carry anything. Okay, at least I know we don't have to travel Underworld. Because Underworld is not fun to travel and it only has 2 entrances. Thankfully, we found them both. Food items in this randomizer, unless you are extremely unlucky and wind up with no one with life up, generally aren't too useful.
Although they can help in a pinch if you run into a situation where you need to conserve PP.
I tell you what, though, WHO would not approve of most Earthbound randomizer runs, what with all the food that we throw away.
Oh no, they would not be having it.
Boy, we are really getting the short end of the stick with... Oh hey, bottle rockets, cool. I was about to say we were getting the short end of the stick with everything, but we found a big bottle rocket vendor. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford too many, but that'll be enough to get us through the next several floors. And those don't have anything I'm terribly interested in anyway. But hopefully we can find something to use these bottle rockets on that'll give us a lot of money, because we are broke right now. This is a good example of one of the enemies that we would be looking for. These are the sentry robots from the Monotoli building. They usually die pretty quickly to a big bottle rocket. They can be randomized higher, in which case that did happen. But nothing a little freeze can't clean up.
Oh, and you can't skip that at 10-to-1 text that's from the sentry robots. It's annoying, admittedly, but what can you do?
How about that zero-cycle car painter? Of course, you'd never be able to do that in the vanilla game because you don't have access to freeze. So now we're on the 3rd floor, and the 3rd floor is where there's a marked increase in both treasure quality and as well as enemy difficulty. One thing that does start appearing on the 3rd floor are Franklin badges, and it is highly recommended that you have at least one Franklin badge before the end of the game. What the Franklin badge does is you put it in a character's inventory, and that character will reflect any and all lightning attacks pointed at them. So on this floor, I'm gonna start to search a few more treasure chests than I normally do.
Because this is the point in the rando where the treasure quality goes up starts to go up.
Oh, that can go away. I didn't quite see what I got off of the mushroom. Stag beetle is a consumable that paralyzes an enemy for 1 turn. Oh hey, there's the hints. What do we have? Titanic ant. Okay, those aren't too bad actually. Those are actually pretty easy bosses other than Ness's Nightmare.
Yeah, that's going to be the real bottleneck right there, because Ness's Nightmare can wipe your party very easily.
And I've never gotten to a high enough level to see Life Up Omega on anybody, even trying. I've leveled up to over 60 and haven't seen it. And typically you'll end seeds somewhere in the 40s for level. So there really isn't a such thing as group heals. The only group heal that you'll be able to use if you find it is a large pizza. And if you find one, you typically want to save one for the end of the game. Because the final boss has a lot of group attacks. And they're just no fun. No fun at all. Oh wait, no,
Worth mentioning. I just figured I'd bring it up now that bosses have been mentioned. The enemies selected to take the role of Shining Spot bosses come from basically the entire enemy pool, but only certain enemies can appear in certain areas. Say you're not going to get Carbon Dog, Diamond Dog right away, as that'd just be too overpowered.
There's a progression to it, and it actually specifically pulls from the pool of... It pulls specifically from the pool of not forced, but scripted encounters. So, say, you can get Frank, you can get Everdread, you can get, like, the cabin fight. Like the fight outside of Paula's cabin when you go there the first time, you can get that. Like the shattered men in the top of the museum, all of those are eligible. But there's a specific list of them that the randomizer keeps internally, ascending by difficulty. And every boss that you get pulls further down the list. So if you start with a really difficult boss like Titanic Ant, it's only going to get worse.
And I think Titanic Ant's also the vanilla first boss.
The vanilla first Sanctuary boss, that's one of the hardest fights in the game, relative to your level.
Yeah, to say that fight's not fun in the vanilla game is an understatement.
It's usually not too bad here because, well, mostly because you have a full party to deal with it.
Yeah, of those enemies that were on that list, you have like another mini bar, which is like really game.
But you also want to be really careful with exploding enemies. As long as you kill them last, the instant text to hello? Nice back attack. I disagree with that. Like I was saying, with the scripted encounters, those are not shuffled at all. I believe Chaz has plans to at some point, but it's currently not a feature. Quoston, to answer your question about getting a really powerful weapon early, the only way that's going to happen is through a shop. Because all of the treasures in the game have a logical progression to them. So you'll always get treasures in a logical progression. The only noteworthy really powerful thing that you can get as early as the first floor is the Casey Bat. And the Casey Bat is not used for actual combat. It's used for preemptives, because when you might have noticed, where is the boss on this floor? Goodness. You might have noticed that sometimes when you get a preemptive attack, the game does not make you fight. If you have enough average damage to kill all of the enemies in an encounter on the first turn, and you get a preemptive, the game will not make you fight the enemies. Alright, that was that one loop, wasn't it?
Well, the problem with using the Casey Bat in battle is that, well, let's just say the bat's named after the mighty Casey, a noble baseball player from the 19th century. Yes, he was mighty. Yes, he could hit the ball far. But he also struck out a lot, too. So that's why the player's guide's description of the Casey Bat is lots of power, but you'll whiff most of the time, because its accuracy is horrid.
25%. It has 25% base accuracy, it's no fun. Man, the path forward on this floor is really elusive. The randomizer makes no guarantees on the size of floors either. So you can find some extremely large or extremely small floors, but all of the entrances do get used with a couple of exceptions. For instance, you won't ever see Lumine Hole because of very technical reasons that I won't get into. But for technical reasons, that particular map is excluded from the randomization. You'll just never see it in Ancient Cave. There we go, finally. That took forever to find. Excuse you. So that guy actually teleported from a different floor. He should not be on this floor. Say it with me. That's never happened before.
Yep, this is something that Oh.
Like, there's been a lot of just marathon luck in general with this seed.
Yeah, that is... Yeah. That is a floor 8 enemy, folks.
That's not just... No, I'm not talking about just that particular instance with the enemy teleporting from a different floor, but just marathon luck in general. Because I've had to full clear 2 out of 3 floors to be able to find the way forward. And we still haven't seen too many of the humongous hubs. Chef's Fry Pan isn't bad, that's an upgrade. And if I'm fast with menus, until you play this game, you will not understand just how stiff the menus are. The menus in this game are very, very stiff.
Oh yeah, can
Yeah,
confirm.
yes, the Starman enemies can teleport. And in that case, because there's a treasure vault in the Lumine Hole dungeon that was from floor 8, but there was another enemy, but rather that ending part of Lumine Hole was on floor 3. I apparently stood close enough to spawn a Starman on floor 8, and he just was close enough that he would teleport after me. If I didn't get a preemptive there, I probably would have wiped. Because Starmen are also very fast, and they're difficult to run from.
So big bottle rockets probably wouldn't have worked, I presume.
That's the other concern. Is because bottle rockets are based on Jeff's speed versus the enemy's speed in terms of their accuracy, you can get an entire bottle rocket to just whiff, and it's no fun. That is a humongous upgrade for Jeff. So floor 4 is another important floor because typically one of the auto Star Masters will wind up on this floor. The auto Star Master is an item that is exclusive to the Ancient Cave. Oh, because PK Starstorm is taught through story events in the vanilla game, an item had to be added for the Ancient Cave in order to allow Pooh to learn how to use Starstorm.
Now, if only the other party members could also learn it and have that randomized. Or is this a case of I shouldn't be giving somebody ideas?
I mean, Chaz loves ideas. Chaz loves ideas, don't get me wrong. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Before I go poking around entrances, I should probably check for items because there is a saleable vendor here. Oh, more explosives. Thankfully, I can raise a good amount of money.
And the Guardian Digger that was beaten can definitely help in that regard.
I'm gonna just...
Yeah,
also, excuse me if I go quiet during shopping, but doing menuing fast is very hard in this game.
It also helps to sell off your old equipment in this game, especially with how limited the inventory space is in this game, because each character can only hold a total of 14 items.
And that includes your equipment too, unlike in most games where equipment doesn't actually count against your inventory total. In this game, it does. But just one of the things that I've appreciated as a speedrunner is just all the menu work that goes into RPG runs in general. A lot of people try to tell me that RPG runs have no execution. Menu work is a lot of execution and memorization. That leads nowhere. There is a chest there. Was this the one? No, I think that was... Oh no, this was the one I didn't explore because of the thing. So the entrance to the sewers is one of the more important entrances you'll need to check, because there are 7 doors here. There are strategies for solving Ancient Cave quickly. On the Earthbound.app website, there is a link to a guide written by Chaz himself that has a bunch of tips for navigating quickly. But a lot of it is just keeping all the entrances straight in your head, which of course is easier said than done.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. Anyway, here's the link to that document in chat.
Thanks, Les. Alright, so this will be it. Hi! Those guys came out of nowhere. Thankfully, the randomized stats tend to normalize enemies that have very, very high numbers in one particular stat, such as the ghosts. The ghosts and trash cans in the vanilla game have a ridiculous amount of defense, but that tends to get taken down with the stat randomization. Which is why if you see me going after... You won't see me going after foppies or fobbies like you would for leveling up in the... that's an issue. Please run away. Noose men are no fun.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Anything that fights in a crowd can be a nightmare at times.
Well, no, these in particular are bad. Game, I would like to run away, please. And that is why we don't mess with Noose Men. So there should just be 2 more entrances back here. I don't think we've seen the heal on this floor yet.
No, I can confirm we have not seen a single heal on this floor. I mean, we've seen plenty of heals, but not a free heal.
I would really like to find it before... Oh boy. This is not what I wanted to find. What options do I have for damage? I have freeze. It'll have to work. Hello? One of you was running away from me. Thanks, game. So typically the randomization makes these enemies much tougher than they are in the vanilla game, so you can't just use them to grind. I mean, you could if you have enough area of effect attacks, but typically the randomization winds up rolling them plus 50% to plus 100% HP. Abstract art shouldn't be too bad. Or in this case, the sort of springy lithograph. I do like the name generation for all of the enemies. It pulls from a pretty expansive table. So now we're really looking to find some way to get the rest of the party back on their feet, because the bosses are going to start getting a lot tougher now. And we don't want them falling behind on levels. Oh hey, Tucson. This is actually kind of what I want to find right now. This is, I believe, the largest cluster of entrances in the game at 19.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If you're in good shape, you usually don't want to find this because it's a huge time sink to search. This will get them healed, but not revived. I remember running into that the problem with that heal in the vanilla game is it didn't revive, and every time you died in Mole Cave, you had to run all the way to Foreside to revive. Actually, I should probably just bash these guys to death because the flies usually have a lot of speed. And the way the game does run chance is it compares the enemy party's highest speed value with your highest speed value of characters that are currently alive. So if your high speed characters have, or your high speed characters are incapacitated, then their speed values are not considered when trying to run away. So if your character with your Rabbit's Foot or Crystal Charm or whatever speed increasing accessory you have is dead, then that won't contribute to your run chance, which makes running away from enemies a losing proposition right now. So I'm actually in a lot of trouble. And if you are interested in playing this, believe it or not, this actually is compatible. This is compatible with 3DS Homebrew. Believe it or not. Not very many of the randomizer applications are, but this is one of them. I was very surprised this actually worked. And because generally speaking, you don't need a tracker, this is a good randomizer to play on the go.
And where can you get those seeds? Well, you can get them right here at the following link. Enjoy.
We have had one tournament for Earthbound Ancient Cave. I don't think there's another in the works right now. But for the last Earthbound Super... hello? For the last Earthbound Super Series, which is a tournament series of various Earthbound categories, Ancient Cave was one of the categories that we had a tournament for. Big shoutouts to Ori. He was the winner of the tournament, and his name is immortalized in the credits. And going multiple floors without finding a hospital or a telephone or an ATM is not uncommon. Thankfully, those weapon upgrades that I purchased earlier are really the only thing that's allowing us to survive. There are a lot of vendors here that I would like to look at as well. If one's like, say, a secret herb vendor, that would be fantastic, but it doesn't look like there is, and I can't afford one anyway. Oh, there is a secret herb vendor here. Do I have anything I can sell to maybe try to get one of these guys back up? I can't raise enough money. I need to find an ATM. That's annoying. The secret herb is also not a guaranteed revive. It's 75%. Coin of Silence is a good piece of equipment. Actually, come to think of it, no. I'm actually going to hold on to the red ribbon for now and use the Coin of Silence for selling to try to get these guys back up, I think. Those are 3 really strong pieces of equipment. Sure, that's fine.
Welcome to Moonside.
Oh, right,
Which is a
I can't.
rather interesting area, to say the least.
Right, I can't actually equip stuff out of the goods menu on characters that are dead, because when you have a dead character, you can't the use command in the item menu is disabled, so if you muscle memory single tap down to move an item over to another party member, you'll inadvertently drop it, and unlike a lot of RPGs, this game does not actually have a confirmation for dropping an item.
Yep, you can't undo it either. I mean, you could in theory, but you don't want to lose that much progress either, so you gotta be careful.
Alright, hopefully this gets everybody up. Of course not. Well, I got one of them back up. One of them being the important one. But yes, a lot of people do say that this game is an acid trip, and they're not wrong. This is quite the video game. Is there another shop? There is. The pencil eraser is one of the items that lets you skip. Oh, his inventory is full. That's very common for. It's very common for Jet's inventory to be full because usually his inventory is jam-packed with ammunition. Rabbit's Foot is one of the things that we are going to be looking for. We just found it, which is fantastic for him. What the Rabbit's Foot does is it is the single greatest speed increasing piece of equipment in the game. It increases the wearer's speed by 40 points, and you want to give that to Jeff as soon as possible because that sends his bottle rocket accuracy through the roof, and it's very, very important. What does he have? Now, this entrance, the entrance to Mole Cave, this is one of the larger clusters as well, but this is one you don't want to find because the entrances are very spread out and it can be jam-packed with enemies. You'll see a lot of players in the tournament will actually gamble on this area, even though it has quite a few entrances. They'll gamble that there's nothing here.
But
Only 2.
there are a number of treasure boxes here, that's for sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of treasures here. But you won't see people clean them out because it just takes so long. That just goes to, yeah, that just goes to a mole. And if you're wondering about all the enemies that spawn out of bounds in the randomizer, that's very common because the spawn tiles are also randomly placed. Because in the vanilla game
also had, well, if I may, on that point, the vanilla game has a number of spawn tiles that are out of bounds as well, which I have seen in places like Forsyth, heading out to the desert, etc.
But more of them tend to get placed out of bounds here, just because the algorithm isn't very good at taking into account what's in bounds and what's out of bounds. But all of the spawn tiles in the vanilla game are in set places. It's just whether or not they actually spawn mobs is random. Hello? Why are you charging me for going through the museum this way? Excuse you? And unfortunately, you do have to pay him every time you go through here. It's not too much money, but if you run into it early, it can be an issue.
What? Paying from that way?
Really? At the very least, since we're finding all of the big clusters early, the later clusters should be small and nice and quick. But yes, the battle backgrounds are also randomly generated. Which it's technically impressive that that can even be done.
This whole thing is technically impressive, really.
So now that we have the rabbit's foot, we should be able to run from most combats relatively reliably. There's only 2 more entrances in Mole Cave. So it looks like Rockin' is going to be our primary area of effect psi, which is good because Beta is really efficient for what it does.
Once you get past Beta, then the cost effectiveness of Rockin' tends to be a little less.
It gets prohibitively expensive. Alright, is Mole Cave the answer? Mole Cave is not the answer. But there is also roughly a third of Tucson that I haven't checked yet. So I think that'll be the next play. You'll also see some enemy formations like this one that are not possible in the middle of the game. All the enemy formations in the game are hard-coded, just some of them are not used. The 5th floor is also where the Auto Star Master item can start to appear. Typically, you'll see one placed starting on the 4th or 5th floor, and then the other one will be on the 8th or 9th floor. And it would be really nice to find it.
That it would, because Starstorm Alpha, while it is pricey, it certainly deals a mighty punch.
It's efficient for what it does. Alright, so now I'm going to go check the bottom half of this town. And this is actually a really good example of why large clusters can be very scary. Because you can wind up running into very, very complicated loops, and if you're not paying attention to what entrances you've checked, you can get very, very lost.
Now, it's not just lost, it's also very easy to get confused as a result.
That's the doctor, that's not going to help. This particular cluster also has a couple of very out-of-the-way entrances, such as this one, that you'll see a lot of runners try to avoid unless they're running very low on options. So now you have 2 people with Rockin' Beta, which is great. Game, can I have the front of the hospital, please? Not the doctor's office? The doctor's office isn't going to help me get my friend back. The doctor's office is actually kind of useless in Earthbound in general, because it can only heal, I think, 2 status conditions. Those being sunstroke and poison. Alright.
So it doesn't.
Alright, here's our heal.
Condition. Interesting.
There we go. That's what we were looking for. What is going on with this floor? Why is this floor so big?
It seems to me that floors with Tucson tend to be really big.
Roswell, the reason why everybody is a dragon is because these are custom sprites. Oh, hey, Temple. LL Temple is one of the moderators for the Earthbound community. they'll be able to answer a lot of your questions.
Oh, hey, a second rabbit's foot.
I actually am not a big fan of second rabbit's foot. The reason why is because speed is only really important to Jeff. On the other characters, you typically want elemental or status protection. But multiple rabbit's feet definitely have their place, especially if you want to manipulate your party's turn order. But no, you haven't missed that much, Temple. This seed has been a royal mess.
So to answer a question in chat, SNES Super Stars is an annual event.
Was wondering when I was going to find an ATM. Okay, I don't see myself needing any more than that. Because eventually big bottle rockets are going to become outdated, especially at the end of the game. Because in order for multi-bottle rocket or big bottle rockets to, or rather multi-bottle rockets to be more effective than super bombs in the final fight, there's a minimum amount of speed that you need to have, and you need to hope that the boss itself doesn't roll really high speed. The run ends once we defeat Gygus, but the challenge is navigating to him, typically. The Ancient Cave is the randomizer mode that we're playing. Hello? Just... hello? Where is the rest of this floor?
Wow, this floor has been rough.
This floor has been really bad. It's not only had a lot of really big clusters, but it's had a lot of deep clusters that have led nowhere. Like Belch Base that's led nowhere, Mole Cave that's led nowhere. It's been an experience.
I don't think all of Tucson's entrances have been checked.
No, they have not. There's a few that haven't been looked at. And that's where I'm headed. I'm headed back there. So essentially what the Ancient Cave does as a whole is it just turns Earthbound into a roguelike. The whole idea of naming this an Ancient Cave is it's an homage to Lufia 2's Ancient Cave, which had an entire roguelike contained within the game itself. Which I believe that Lufia 2's Ancient Cave was featured in this very marathon earlier.
Yes, it was. Can confirm.
So Tucson has 2 more entrances that have not been searched. One of them is another one that a lot of players like to skip, and then another one I just passed over earlier for whatever reason. I just totally spaced an entrance, which is easy to do. The default flag set is actually what people recommend. We're playing with a couple of added options, such as the Psychic Power Shuffle. Unless you know what you're doing, yes. Was off by a couple pixels. I think I'm gonna try to get out of here. There's too many ugly things in this encounter. This might actually be one of the largest floors I've ever seen.
Yeah, this one's definitely huge. Like, I'd be interested to see how many rooms this is in the end credits.
So the way to the end was behind that one entrance that is commonly skipped. You know what? I don't even really need to use a rocket on this guy. I should have enough DPS without it, because sentry robots are pretty weak. It's actually unusual to see sentry robot this late in the rotation. Alright, now that nightmare's done. On to level 6. So level 6 is where the good pendants start showing up. The pendants that we're looking for to complete the game.
I mean, we already did see one of the good pendants already, and the rain pendant. But what we're really after is the night and sea pendants.
Star pendants too. Night sea pendant and star pendant are the things that we're looking for, and they can start showing up on this floor. But now the floors really should be getting smaller. I think the only big cluster that's left is Threed. Oh, Summers. I forgot about Summers. Summers is actually the second largest cluster that we have left. There are 12 entrances here. Threed has 13. Oh, cool, I found this entrance, so I get to actually name the character.
Awful lot of phones clustered together here.
High value items that we're looking for are mostly sea, star, and night pendants. High end equipment. Franklin badges.
Autostar Master.
Autostar Master would be great. There's no guarantee that any of these items even exist. We didn't really discuss the way the game populates chests. So if you want to go ahead and go into that while I'm exploring this floor less, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so the way this game populates chests is that 30% of the item pool does not appear in this game. So yes, that does make for some less than desirable possibilities, but it means that basically any number of items can show up in just about any given place with some build-up to the better items. Like, the later you go in this dungeon, the more likely you're gonna find those better items.
One of each unique piece of equipment and 3 of each non-unique piece of equipment are in the item pool. But like Les alluded to, 30% of the item pool is thrown out. So you might not see Franklin badges or gutsy bats or any of that sort of thing. But you'll likely see at least 1 or 2 pendants that you need. Oh hey, and it's the end of the floor.
Can confirm these floors are gonna get quick.
At least until we find Threed. So at least we didn't have to go digging through too much of Summers. We only covered about half of it. I think I am actually going to start using rockets because I don't see the need for them. I don't see the need for this many, at least. So now floor 7 is where I'm going to start being a lot more thorough with item checks. Because floor 7 is the first floor where sea pendants can start showing up. And you really, really want to have at least 1 by the time you go to Gygus. Because if you don't have any kind of flash protection, Gygus can just end your run at any given turn.
And even with flash protection, it still might not be enough. Case in point, if you're going in with Earth pendants, because then you have a 10% chance of the game just saying, nope, not today.
So if I find... Oh, nice. Holy Fry Pan for Paula, that's best in slot. This is also where you'll start finding best in slot gear. Oh yeah, the fourth wall breakage in this game is amazing. Still no multis yet. I'm a little surprised. Like, multi-bottle rockets are the big thing we're looking for in shops at this point. Since we have a rabbit's foot, we'll be able, if we can find a multi-bottle rocket, we'll be able to make pretty good use of high-grade explosives. I mean, mid-grade explosives will do for all the other boss fights except Gygus, but he typically has so much speed that it just doesn't matter how high Jeff's speed is.
Yeah, in that instance...
Oh, this is a shop.
Yeah, in that instance, Jeff would really want Heavy Bazooka.
Yeah, Heavy Bazooka would be another nice thing to find, especially considering that we haven't found any super bombs at all yet.
Another thing we're starting to find is some PP recovery items. I mean, we'd love to find the Magic Pudding shop, but there's only one of those.
Shop that sells brain food lunches, although they're expensive, is great. Who do I want to have that? Probably Ness. Mashing through text in this game is much easier than it is in other RPGs. Oh, speaking of Psychic Restoration, that was a Magic Truffle, which is the best Psychic Restoration item there is in the game. It restores 80 Psychic points.
And if you happen to get a ketchup packet, it does even more, which is crazy to think about.
Magic Pudding restores 40 Psychic points. The reason why it was brought up specifically is because that is the best Psychic Restoration item, well, strictly Psychic Restoring item in the game that is purchasable. But it is not actually in the regular item shop. The reason why it is not put in the item shop, I should just be fighting these guys. These guys are typically really weak. It specifically restores 40, but 40 is a lot. Yeah, those guys aren't usually too hard to run from. I don't know why they were giving me such a hard time.
Yeah, these things typically go down to freeze pretty quick.
Not even that. I have enough weaponry that I can take care of them. Oh yeah, this game skirted the sensors so much.
Yeah, oh yeah. To say this game pushed the envelope is an understatement.
Does anybody have healing gamma yet? I don't think so. Nope.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one pop up either.
It'd be really nice to find. Because, when people die in Earthbound Ancient Cave, they usually stay dead for a while, because reviving people is very entrance dependent. Oh, right, he's not dead. Whatever, I can just put this on her then. For whatever reason, I thought Jeff was dead.
Oh, he did die.
Oh, there's a
earlier,
Franklin
but
badge.
not
There's
yet.
a Franklin badge. Now we're talking. I'll need to review the battle commands to see who has prey, and then give the Franklin badge to that person.
It was definitely, well, yeah, I don't think it was Paula, to be fair.
I don't think so either. And unlike in most games, in Earthbound, auto battle doesn't mean auto attack. So if party members are below a certain HP threshold, your auto battle command will actually heal them or remove status ailments. It's really nice. It's really nice for randomizer in particular. So as far as items go for finishing the game, all we're really looking for is a C pendant or star pendant. Talisman Room is not bad. I don't think that's better than what she has, though. Talisman Ribbon gives her more defense. Oh, hey, there's boss 7. I'm gonna have to clean out my inventory soon, too. Really surprised this guy is showing up as boss 7 of all things. So we'll just have one more shining spot, which is going to be Nessa's Nightmare, and then we're going to be looking for Gygus. Oh hey, it's Happy Happy Village. That means it's the free shop.
Yep, let's see if Free Shop has what we're after.
Like, free shop with multis is the dream, but That doesn't happen too often. Knowing how much marathon luck we've already had in this seed, the free shop is probably going to be junk. Game, that is not who I wanted to heal. Remember what I said about this game's menus being stiff? Not worth it. If you find the free shop early and it has something very expensive, you can actually abuse that to get tons and tons of money early in the game. One of the first seeds I did in learning this randomizer actually had holy fry pans on a floor 2 free shop, and let's just say I was set on money for most of the seed. What was even funnier is that there was a shop, I think 2 entrances over. So I could just fill my inventory with holy fry pans and sell them for, I think, $1,700 a piece. And just be set on money for the entire game. It was glorious. But generally speaking, it's almost always worth checking shops. Because you never know when they'll have something just extremely helpful. The reason why it's called the free shop is because you can actually steal items from it and not pay for them. That's a thing in vanilla too. In vanilla, it's not terribly useful because the only things that are at the free shop I've already been here. The only items that are at the free shop in vanilla are bananas and fresh eggs, but in the randomizer they can be anything. So it's much more likely to have something that's very useful, but not this time. I'm a little disappointed we haven't found any chickens yet. Oh hey, there's the back half of Lumine Hall. I think I'm actually going to check the rest of the village before I go through the exits in Lumine Hall, because some of them are pretty far apart, and holy lag. So this game really pushed what the SNES is capable of doing, and if there are a lot of enemies on screen, it can generate quite a bit of lag. I think if I find a C pendant, I'm probably just gonna go just on time, because there's a very real possibility that depending on if we might be able to skip seeing 3 or not. Oh hey, there's the Earth Pendant shop. So I'm actually gonna pick up 3 of these as backups for the Geiga site. Like, that is strictly as a backup in case we don't find sea pendants. It would be very much preferred to have sea pendants, but they're a good backup. So I'm very happy to at least have something. But one C pennant would make the Gygus fight a lot more bearable. Speaking of which, I should check if anybody has Psy Shield. No one has Psy Shield. That could be a problem. So now we're really banking on finding multi-bottle rockets, because I don't have DPS for Gygus. I think I saw Brain Shock somewhere, so that'll help a little bit, but it's still not great. I think this was the entrance to the floor. Yeah, it was. This floor has actually been confusing too. Alright, that's the way it came out. Let's check the other one. What's going on here? Did I check the back entrance? I don't think I checked the Mr. Saturn entrance in Happy Happy Village. I don't think I did anyway. Yeah, I didn't. Because I found that one. No! Where do you want me to go, Seed? Oh, there's more of Lumine Hole I haven't checked. I think there's a couple entrances back here that haven't been searched yet. No, it can always be completed. It's just this particular seed is just being cantankerous. I wonder if it's probably this entrance up top. One of the other drawbacks to having easy bosses is that your levels usually wind up being pretty low. Not dealing with you. I mean, Ness's Nightmare is going to give a lot of experience, but... Oh, Saturn Ribbon's cool too. That is best in slot. So I'll give her a respectable amount of defense. Not there either. I mean, we found Happy Happy Village. Did this entrance get looked at?
Ooh, that's a big defensive upgrade for Paula with that Saturn Ribbon.
Saturn Ribbon is... Oh wait, no. Saturn Ribbon is not best in slot. It's second best.
Yeah, because the best one is a 1 in 128 drop.
Yeah, it's Goddess Ribbon. I completely forgot about Goddess Ribbon. Goddess Ribbon is considered a unique item as far as the randomizer goes, so there's only one copy of it in the pool. Where have I not been?
Well, either way, there's the full heal.
There's no entrance there. But there's an entrance that I have not checked. Somewhere. Maybe down here.
It seemed like a big loop just to get back to Happy Village.
Oh, Legendary Bat. Legendary Bat's good. That's the second best bat. Best bat being Gutsy Bat. But in terms of raw attack power, it's the best. I don't count the Casey Bat because of its 25% accuracy rating. So it's looking like Happy Village is just one giant rabbit hole. Mentally, you just have to keep them all straight. And there's our boss. Like, just generally speaking, the strategy is to take the closest door available, but as it turns out, the closest door at the start of the floor just took you in one giant loop, and the door that you needed to take to get to the boss area was one door past the first one at the start of the floor. And generally speaking, that's how people get lost in the randomizer.
Oh, absolutely. And I've definitely been on the wrong end of that one before.
Oh hey, a super bomb, how helpful. No auto Star Master, no a little late for that too. No auto Star Master. Where's my DPS on Gygus gonna come from?
That's a good question. We're starting to run out of space to... We're starting to run out of floors and checks to make, too.
Yeah, I'm really beginning to wonder where all of these pendants are.
Well, the good news about finding really quick steps is that you just go to the end of it and boom, you're at the shining spot. The real great maze like some of the others.
Oh no. And there are 3 item checks I can make here. Yes, Temple, that is correct. Floor 9 could also have a heavy bazooka, which would help out a lot. Oh hey, look, an Earth Pendant I don't need. Right.
Well, Earth Pendants...
Nightmare by default has a Psychic Power Shield, so I'm actually gonna test it with some Thunder, because if he does have a Psychic Power Shield... That's the other thing I was scared of, is like, Flash is an issue, too. Can you please hit? Okay, he doesn't have one, so I'm gonna go ahead and just go ham with... I'm just gonna go ham on him with Psy attacks. That's gonna be the best way to do this. At least at this point.
Ooh, some really bad luck there with Jeff going down through the glorious light, which is a Flash Omega.
It is, yeah. That was the other concern. Now I'm gonna have to preemptively heal. Because, Rocket Omega is coming. I think I'm actually just gonna throw his super bomb here, and then just let him die. Because he's not contributing the damage at all.
Unfortunately, we haven't found an Autumn Star Master yet, so using Starstorm would not be possible. I don't even think we found Psychic Shield yet, to be honest.
Psychic Shield does not exist in the seed confirmed.
Oh boy, so now that we know that, what is the game plan for Gaius?
Depends on whether we find sea pendants. But this is also just a serious issue in general, is I don't have a game plan for him right now. I don't have Healing Gamma either. So now that all 8 shining spots are taken care of, we'll be able to go face Gygus. Once this Tenda gets out of the way, NPC trolling, please. Yeah. Just... Maybe I should have asked Ori to roll the seed, Kappa. Oh, hey, look, a fifth Earth Pendant I don't need.
Wow, that's a lot of Earth Pendants.
Wondering when we're gonna run into Threed. So actually, before I forget, I'm gonna put those on people. So Earth Pendants provide half protection from all elements. So it will reduce the chance of PK Flash killing people, but it won't entirely mitigate it.
So the hint people in-game tell you 2 things. They tell you what floor you are on in the Ancient Cave. They also tell you the vanilla names of the Shining Spot bosses. And those names, vanilla, are based off of what they're known as in the main game.
So the hitmen are actually very useful. We just didn't run. We just ran in. I think we ran into the one fairly early, and told us that the bosses in the seed would be relatively easy, which is a concern in and of itself because it can make it very difficult to finish the seed due to having a lot of low, by just virtue of low levels. I would really like a multi-bottle rocket bailout for side department store, please. That's the only thing I'm really looking for in the shops is multi-bottle rockets. Because if I can find multi-bottle rockets, then we have a game plan for Gygus. It's not a good game plan, but it's a game plan. So that's why I'm checking all the shops first. Nope, of course not. Brick Road is a pretty good thing to find on floor 9 because it has 6 free chests. A lot of unique items. The Hungry HP Sucker would be much more useful if you could get it before floor 9, but a lot of the high-end things that Jeff can fix show up on floor 9. Souvenir coin's not a bad thing to find. There's the heavy bazooka. That gives me something. That gives me like a backup just in case. It's not great because he also has low HP and I won't be able to keep him like super healed for Gygus, but we have a game plan at least.
For those wondering, the heavy bazooka basically equates to a super bomb every turn.
Yeah, it's a reusable super bomb. I think I have enough that I can. Oh, these are Cave to the Past enemies. Bye. Run please. Run please.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
Yeah, this is really not good.
I mean, you're gonna run into these enemies somewhere. If we don't find Gygus soon, I'm probably gonna have to kill this, unfortunately. Like, if I don't find Gygus in the next 5 minutes, I'm just gonna kill the run, unfortunately. But given all the garbage that this seed has put me through, yeah, it was not playing nice tonight.
Yeah,
and that's one of the problems with this randomizer in particular in a marathon setting, is the times can vary extremely wildly. I've seen them anywhere between an hour and 20 minutes to 2 hours plus. So if I don't find him soon, I'm gonna call it.
It's also worth noting that some of these settings are on the highest settings that are of the variety that are not recommended.
Not the only one that I have set that's not for beginners is Psi Power Shuffle, which I think makes the randomizer very interesting. Most of the settings I'm playing with are default. It's a brutal game. Period. Oh, that was one entrance too soon. But generally speaking, since you also don't have the Magic Ant boost, you just want to run from these guys. Because that big stat boost that you get after Magic Ant in the vanilla game is impossible to trigger in Randomizer. Where's my last save at, actually? I think it might be far back. Oh, that's Brick Road. That's not too far. Yeah, it's only a couple back. I'm actually going to reset and take an alternate path. At least I know where the heal is on this floor if I need it, but it's very unlikely, because... yeah. That was no fun. You do not want the later floors to be large. Souvenir coin is the best accessory. The best accessory that can be equipped by just general party members. I believe it provides plus 80 to the defense. So the title screen is what contains the seed hash. No C pendant anywhere. Just nowhere. The things that I would really like to beat the game are apparently nowhere to be found. It is possible, although very unlikely, that all of them got deleted from the item pool. So I'm going to check this one last entrance, which is the hint shop. If the entrance to Gygas isn't here, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to call it, because we're already behind schedule. Yeah, sorry guys. Just could not find him. So for the purpose of keeping things on schedule, I'm actually just going to call it here. I'm so sorry for being unable to finish, but that's Earthbound for you. This game is notoriously not terribly marathon safe, and I appreciate SpeedGaming gave us the opportunity to showcase the randomizer. But thank you all for having us.
Absolutely, this was a blast, even though, well, sometimes rando's gonna rando, and in this case, it really randoed.
Oh, the estimate was plenty generous, just... it was a nightmare. But again, thanks for having us, Feasel. I really appreciate it. Good luck to all the runners for the rest of the event.
Absolutely, but there is also later on in the event another Earthbound run to be seen. This one for the vanilla game, but it's going to feature... let me just pull it up on the schedule here. That run's going to be Sunday evening at about 8:45 p.m. A glitchless, but using the Runbound patch, where movement will basically be the speed you saw here. But coming up next is Seiken Densetsu 3 by Dragon. Or Dagron, excuse me. It's late. And meanwhile, here's another couple of links for those for Earthbound. Last one I'm going to drop in for tonight is the link to the Earthbound speedrunning Discord community.